What was the most statistically unlikely event you've witnessed? Was at a shop counter in Wisconsin, and some dude came up behind me and kicked me in the butt gently, thinking I was his niece or something. Apologized profusely, went on our separate ways. A few weeks later, I'm at an airport in Houston. I hear a man behind me talking about how he accidentally kicked some poor girl in the butt. I turn around, and there's a long moment of staring at each other before I decide to walk away. Dude probably shit his pants. About 15 years ago, I was on a plane in America. I sat down next to a girl about my age. We started chatting. Just idle travel chit chat. She was an Australian, and I'm a naturalized Australian. I still speak with a Canadian accent. I mentioned that I'm actually from Australia too. She was surprised, and I asked her where she was from. She told me it was so and so away from Sydney. I told her to try me. She mentioned a region, and I told her I was pretty familiar with it, as I'd lived in a town from that area. She told me the town name. It's a coastal town. See, I asked her what beach she lived nearest to. It's how people identify in that place. She said the beach name. I told her that's my beach too. I asked what street it was. She lived 3 doors down from where I lived. I knew a few of her siblings, but had just never actually met her. When I was a kid, I was on the beach with my family and a family friend. Said friend realized that he'd lost his wedding ring, presumably while swimming in the sea at some point earlier that day. I decided to head out with my snorkel to have a look, and after only a few minutes spotted the wedding ring half buried in the sand, in about a meter depth of water. It still blows my mind that I found that ring. My dad is a personal injury attorney aka ambulance chaser. One time when my dad was driving me to school, we got into a car accident where the car behind us caused 3 cars to be pushed into each other fender bender style. Everyone gets out to exchange information and realize the guy not only hit my dad, aka the personal injury attorney, but the driver was also responsible for the car being pushed into the 2 other guys who were an insurance adjuster and a chiropractor. Everyone made sure to exchange business cards. Went on holiday abroad, walking round a market, turn the corner and physically bump into a guy. He looks up, and it's the guy I was best friends with all through school. He's stalking you and wants to be best friends again. Was in the car with my father going to Cape Cod. A car had been driving alongside us near us since a hometown. When we got to the Cape, the car followed us to the house we were staying at, then pulled into the very next driveway. Turns out our neighbors rented the BB next to us with no planning whatsoever. In the 5th grade, I threw a paper airplane that sailed across the room and stuck in between a boy I like 2 front teeth. It was amazing. Can someone tell me what the odds are that a tree would fall on my car on a sunny, wind-free day while I was driving it? Like, I was in motion. This big ass tree saw me, went frick this bitch in particular and totaled my poor car. I was somehow fine. I would say the chances are 1 in 3. I was watching America's Funniest Home Videos back when Bob Saget hosted, while eating pretzels and drinking Diet Black Cherry Soda. Saget led into the commercial break by saying, "Don't put down those pretzels and Diet Black Cherry Soda. We'll be right back." I almost choked. I've posted this before on here, but I once saw a guy try to kick a football, miss and instead kick a pigeon into a nearby girl, spilling her McDonald's milkshake all down here. I mean, I don't know how statistically improbable that is, but any chance I get to tell the story I'll use. At a party a few years ago, about 30 people or so, I overheard a vague acquaintance talking to a woman I didn't know about that. If more than 23 people are in a room, chances are 2 will share a birthday factoid. She asked him his birthday, which I didn't know. He said March 18th. She freaked and said mine too. But this is where it gets weird. My birthday is March 18th too. So I told them, and we all lost it slightly. Another woman came to ask us what the fuss was all about. We explained and she practically fell over. Yep. She was March 18th too. I'm not up to the maths, but I'd love to know how unlikely that was. My wife lost her wedding ring. We thought that maybe she left it in a restaurant when washing her hands, and it was stolen. After a year and a half of it missing, we were moving across the Atlantic and hoped it might show up when we cleaned our house out. No luck. It was gone forever, we thought. When we got to our new house, one of the movers brought my wife her engagement ring. He found it in the living room rug. A rug that we walked on almost every day since it had been missing. That we vacuumed at least once a week. That got rolled up and shipped across the Atlantic. A few minutes later he found her wedding band in the same rug. Playing Risk. I had 40 armies in Greenland. My sister had 6 armies in Iceland. I attacked. I lost. I met a woman in a remote mountain village in the Philippines that I had hiked to for a local celebration. My brother and I were the only foreigners there. We made small talk, yada yada. We were Australian backpackers, and she was an American journalist doing work. And that was that. About 2 months later I was walking into Chiang Mai Zoo in Thailand, and as I was walking in, she was walking out. We made that face at each other, and stopped for a chat. It was absolutely bizarre. About 11 years ago I had dropped out of college due to being a lifelong non-academic. My best friend's at the time girlfriend helped me get a job at a government-run liquor store in the next town over. It's retail, but it paid well and had the opportunity for benefits and had a union, so I was on board. My best friend and I also frequented the gym together in our hometown. One day while working out, someone broke into my buddy's locker and stole wallet. A few weeks later his girlfriend and I were both working at checkout when I hear her say, "Oh wow, you look different tonight." I turn around to see a nervous kid reply, "UHHEA, it's just an old photo." Buddy's GFMMMM, nope. This isn't you. Kid, haha, yes it is. Why wouldn't it be me? GF, this is my boyfriend's ID. His wallet was stolen last month and this card was in it. I took a look at the kid and realized I recognized him from a minor hockey team back in our town. We were all Canadian rink rats, and he was 3 or 4 years younger than me. Long story short, my buddy got all his stuff back. We didn't bother getting the police involved because sometimes kids just do dumb shit, and we ended up having a laugh about it. Back in about 2006 I went to Staples to get school supplies for college. I also bought a phone. I picked one that had some speed dials and looked okay. Some guy came over and tried to pitch me a warranty plan that I passed on. I paid for stuff and left. I got home, and a few hours later I opened my room at assignment and used my new phone to call him. We chatted for a minute and I said I just bought the phone I was calling him on. Silence. Is it an ad 2130? Yeah. Did you buy it at Staples in West Lebanon? Yeah. Dude, I just sold you your phone. This gets better. A few months later we are at school and we were talking about Boy Scouts. He asked if I was in the Order of the Arrow. I said yes. Do you have your membership card? Yeah. Right here in my wallet. Look at the signature of the treasurer. It was him. I had been carrying the signature of my future roommate in my wallet for like 6 years. I scored a 10 in a true or false test where I didn't know the answer to even a single question. The chances of that happening is 1 in 1024. A lightning strike right behind my car. It sounded and felt like the back of my car exploded. A teacup fell down from my hand, landed perfectly standing. Tea surface made a very unusual vertical splash that reached the ceiling 4 mile high. There is a mark on the ceiling to this day. I was at a poker table where one guy got pocket kings 4 hands in a row. Someone looked up the stat and it was astronomical. When I was 14, traveling home from school by train, you had 2 options. You could either walk further to one train station to get a fast train home, or you could take a shorter walk, but the train from that station would be slower. There wasn't much difference in the overall journey time, so kids used to choose which option based on who they were with. The 2 stations were on the same line and they ended up at the same station. I went to the same school as my twin brother. One day, I chose to take the longer walk, but faster train option. This fast train flew past the slow train station at around 80 miles per hour. Being the renegade I decided to throw some chewing gum I had been chewing out of the window as we hurtled past the slow train station. At 80 miles left, this was not targeted to any members of the blurred platform I could see. Thought nothing of it. 2 days later my twin brother said some ducker threw a chewing gum out of the window of a fast train going past and it hit me in the forehead. We did the train timetable correlation. Unless there was someone else on my train throwing chewing gum out of the window at the same time as I did, it was me who sniped my twin brother. My mom and stepdad had my brother on August 9th, 1995. My dad and his girlfriend had their daughter, my sister, on August 1995. So I have a brother and sister with the exact same birthday, and they are not related. Bought a used car. Driving it home it started to rain heavily. Started singing Weather With You by Crowded House to myself. Decided to see if anything was in the CD player. Switched it on. Starts playing Weather With You. The previous owner had left Crowded House's greatest hits in the drive. A tree tried to murder me a few months ago. My brother came down from NC with his girlfriend this past July to visit me, and my girlfriend and the four of us decided to go for a swim in my fancy new inflatable, above ground pool. The pool is about 15 feet across 3 feet deep, so pretty big. I was the only one in the pool, while everyone else stood nearby, and I was just splashing around, doing my thing, when I heard a very loud cracking sound. My brother and I stood and listened for a second until we both saw the top of an 80 feet water oak start falling directly toward me. Instinctively I tried to bolt, but my feet slipped on the bottom of the pool. When I looked up again, the trunk was only seconds from my head. All I had time to do was put my arm up in an attempt to push out from under it at the last second. Tree hits my shoulder back, and when the dust settles I'm next to the trunk and completely surrounded by enormous branches. But alive. All I can see is tree in any direction until 2 branches are forced apart, and my brother rips me out of there like a ragdoll. Adrenaline's a heck of a drug. I'm not exaggerating when I say that if I had been 1 foot from that spot in any direction I'd have been impaled or crushed. A few broken toes, scratches and a corneal laceration, but no worse for wear. Not windy, not raining, not a dying tree. No idea what made it fall, but I'm never outside. Just horrible luck. 2 royal flushes in the same week at the casino. My father finding his lost wedding ring that was lost in a lock lake after 9 years. For whatever reason he took it off when fishing and landed in the water near the shore. I was fishing with him the same place years later, and he looks down, and boom, there it was. The inscription on the inside of the band told us it was his. Only reason we found it was because it was the height of summer, the water levels had dropped, so the water line was further out. Would have called BS if I hadn't been there. Playing darts with a friend in the summer. Friend throws dart, hits a honeybee in midair, and skewers it to the dartboard. And I shit you not, it was a bullseye. I once saw 2 bald eagles death spiraling. It's when 2 eagles decide they want to mate, they interlock claws and spiral towards the ground at a high rate of speed, only to let go at the last possible second. I was adopted. I've known pretty much my whole life, but my parents never really talked about considering my birth father was unknown, and my mother was a meth addict and frequent user while pregnant with me and someone else. Fast forward to when I was 16. My parents decide I'm finally old enough to find out more about my birth mother, and the fact that I actually have a twin brother I never knew about. My parents gave me his name and I immediately went to my computer to try to find him on Facebook. When I logged in, there was message and a friend request from my twin. It turns out his parents told him about me on the same day. We both asked and neither of our parents planned to do this on the same day. This wasn't even our birthday, just some random day 3 or 4 months after turning 16. In addition, our similarities were insane. We both had long hair at the time, we are both male, had the same favorite band and both had a best friend named Matthew. We still have yet to meet in person because he's in Texas and I'm in Alaska, but we are planning on meeting this April. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,